Okay, so today what we're going to do is going to be kind of similar to what we did previously. We're going to factor it kind of the same way. Only difference in what we're doing today is that our a value will not be 1. So we'll always have a number in front of our x squared. So if you remember, we have our a, our b, and our c value. So now we have a number in front of our a, so we have to do something that we're going to call slide, divide, bottoms up. So the first step that we have is we're going to slide. So the slide is I'm going to slide the a value over to the c value and then multiply them together. So I'm actually going to go ahead and grab the 2 and I'm going to draw it. I'm sliding it over to the 5 and then I'm going to multiply them together. So my new equation will be x squared plus 11x plus 10 is equal to 0. Once I'm here, this is going to be the new equation that I'm working with. So this is going to be the numbers that I'm going to find my c value for, and all the rest of that. So the next thing that I would do is I would look at my c value. So it's positive, which means I'm going to add, and they're going to be the same sign in my parentheses. So again, I'm still in my second step. I'm factoring it just like we did previously. And so again, I'm going to go parentheses, same sign, all the different ways to multiply to get 10. 10 and 1 is going to be the right combination. So I'm going to put in the 10 and the 1. My b value is positive, and so I'm going to make them positive 10 and positive 1. So this is the part that's different now, is the third step is going to be divide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both the numbers by my original a. So my original a value was this 2 right here, and so I'm going to go ahead and divide both these numbers by 2. And so when I do that, a couple things can happen. It can reduce down to a regular number, which is good. They can evenly divide each other. Or I can do something, my fourth step, I'm going to call bottoms up. So if the fraction can be divided evenly, do it. If not, we're going to reduce the fraction. So if it can be reduced, we can use our graphing calculator to divide the numbers by each other. Hit the math button and then hit enter twice, and that'll give it to me as a reduced fraction. And so once I reduce the fraction, then I want to move the denominator in front of the x. And so with this problem here, I'm going to grab the 2 and I'm going to move it up in front of the x because 1/2 doesn't divide as a whole number. And so I'm going to rewrite this right one as 2x plus 1. With the second one, though, 10 divided by 2, that actually divides it down to 5, so I can just write the first one as x plus 5. And then this is my factored form, just like we had done previously. So to solve my equation, I'll split it up into 2 separate equations. Go x plus 5 is equal to 0, and 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Be careful when we're going through these. You're going to have some 2-step equations, so just be careful. If you skip these steps here, sometimes we can make mistakes. So I'm going to subtract the 5 to the other side. That's easy. Here, I'm going to subtract the 1 to the other side and get 2x is equal to negative 1, and then divide both sides by 2. Get x is equal to negative 1/2. And so those would be my 2 solutions. So again, doing the same thing with the next couple problems. So here, again, there's a number in front of my x squared. I have a different a value, so that means I have to do there's my slide step. So I get x squared minus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0. Again, factor it just like we did. Look at my c value. That means different and subtract. And so what I can do is I can put it in the parentheses. X, I'm going to do different signs, plus and minus, and then 2 numbers that multiply to give me 21 that have, when I subtract them I get 4, would be 7 and 3. So 7 times 3, again, my bigger number here is 7, oops, so I need to make sure that that's the same sign as my b value, so it's going to be a negative 7 and a positive 3. Again, once I'm here, then that was my slide step. And then the next step is going to be my divide step. So when I divide, I'm going to divide both things by my original a value, which is 3. So divide by 3, divide by 3. In my first parenthesis, again, 3 divided by 3 just gives me 1, so I can just write it like that. And then the second one, I got to do my bottoms up. So I'm going to move the 3 out in front of the x, and go 3x minus 7. Again, do the arrow thing and solve from there. I get x plus 1 is equal to 0, and 3x minus 7 is equal to 0. So I subtract the 1, get x is equal to negative 1, add the 7, get 3x is equal to 7, divide by 3 and divide by 3. So I get 7/3, which would be 2.3 repeating on your Schoology quizzes. I don't want to put in I prefer it as a fraction, so we can leave this as 7/3, which is the same thing as 2 1/3. This is probably the preferable way. Just leave it as 7/3. It's really easy to enter in on your Schoology quizzes. Same thing with the next one. Again, going to do my slide. Get 3x squared minus 16x plus 15 is equal to 0. Whoopsie. Take that 3 off there. There we go. Multiplied the 3, moved it over with the 5 to get 15. From there, I'm going to factor it just like I would. So I've got a positive c value, which means same and add. And so I can go x and x. Two numbers that when I multiply get 15, when I add them I get 16. Sometimes it's a hard one, but it's 15 and 1. I go 15 and 1. They multiply to get me 15, they add to get me 16, and I want them to both be minus signs. I want to divide them both by 3. So again, there's my divide step. The first parenthesis reduces x minus 5. And then in the second parenthesis, I got to do my bottoms up, which is 3x minus 1. Split it off into two separate equations. Get x minus 5 is equal to 0, and 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. Add the 5 to the other side. Get x is equal to 5. Add the 1 and divide by 3. So get 3x is equal to 1. And then x is equal to 1/3. Again, on the Schoology quiz, that's a repeating decimal, so leave it as 1 divided by 3. And then the very last one, same thing. I'm actually going to go ahead and skip that one, okay? Go ahead and flip over to the back. On the back, here we go. Slide the 3 over, and so I get 3x squared. Oops, doggone it. Get x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Positive c value means same and add. So again, I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get me 6, that add to get me 5. It's going to be 3 and 2. And so when I do my parentheses, x plus and x plus, I'm going to do a positive 3 and a positive 2. Multiply to get me 6, add to get me 5. And then again, I want to divide them both by my original. So divide it by 3. So I get x plus 1. And then I get to do bottoms up with a second one. I get 3x plus 2. Oops. Split it off into two separate equations. Go x plus 1 is equal to 0, and 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. I get x is equal to negative 1 by subtracting the 1 over to the other side. Here I'm going to subtract the 2. Get 3x is equal to negative 2. Divide both sides by 3. Get x is equal to negative 2/3. Again, leave it as negative 2/3. With the next one, again, slide. Go x squared minus 9x minus 10 is equal to 0. Again, c value is negative, so that means diff and sub. Two numbers that multiply to get me 10 that have, when I subtract them, I get 9, are going to be 10 and 1. And so again, when I do that, parentheses x, one's a plus, one's a minus. Bigger number is 10, so I want it to be the same sign as my b value, which is a negative 10 and a positive 1. It multiplies to get me negative 10, it adds to get me negative 9. Again, I want to divide them both by 5, so there's my divide step. Get x plus, this one's the one I got to do bottoms up with. I get 5x plus 1. And then the second one, I get x minus 2. Split it off into two separate equations. Get 5x plus 1 is equal to 0. And x minus 2 is equal to 0. Easy one is add the 2 to the other side. Next one again, 2 steps. So show them 5x is equal to negative 1. And then divide both sides by 5. Get x is equal to negative 1/5. Again, leave it as negative. Actually, that's one that terminates as a decimal. So if you wanted to, you could write it as negative 0.2 or negative 0.2. Those are all acceptable ways of putting that. Because it's a terminating decimal, it actually ends. I'm going to skip the one in the left, just go right to the one on the right, or on the middle. Again, I'm going to slide first. So I'm going to get x squared minus 19x plus, and then 6 times 15 gives me 90. Again, my c value is positive, which means add and same sign, same and add. And so when I do this, again, if you need help, throw it into the calculator. It's going to be 9 and 10. And so again, they have to add to get me negative 19, so I'm going to go negative for both of those. My divide step is to divide each of these by 6. Again, this is going to be one where actually both don't reduce, or both don't divide evenly, and so I have to reduce both of these. So I'm going to reduce x minus, so 9/6. 3 divides both of those, and so if I divide the top by 3, I get 3. If I divide the bottom by 3, I get 2. Same thing with the second one. I get x minus. 2 divides both those, so I get 5, and then a 3 on the bottom. And so when I do that, I want to do my bottoms up, because again, it doesn't divide evenly. So I'm going to get 2x minus 3, and then I'm going to get 3x minus 5. Again, this one's kind of difficult, but we have to make sure that we do simplify the fraction if both of them don't reduce or don't divide evenly. And so when I do that, I can split it off into my 2 separate equations. Get 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, and 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Add the 3 to the other side. Get 2x is equal to 3, and divide by 2. So x is equal to, you could either leave it as 3/2, which is the same thing as 1.5. Add the 5 to the other side in the other equation. Get 3x is equal to 5, and divide both sides by 3. Get x is equal to 5/3. That's a terminating decimal, that's a repeating decimal, so I do just want to leave it as 5/3, or 1 2/3 would work as well. Last one then, again, slide divide, so x squared minus 14x minus 8 times 15, gives me 120. And so again, I'm going to put them in my parentheses, different signs. This one's going to be one to use graphing calculator with. So I want to do 120 divided by x. And so I want 2 that, again, diff and sub. So I want 2 that subtract to get me 14, that have a difference of 14. So 20 and 6 is going to be the winning combination. 20 and 6. Again, bigger number has to have the same sign as my b value. And so once I'm here, divide them both by 8. This is going to be another one where both of these don't divide evenly, so I have to reduce my fractions. So I get x plus, 2 divides both those, so I get 3/4. And then x, minus Let's see. 4 divides both those, so I get 5 over 2. Yeah, that's good. So again, I'm going to do my bottoms up with both of these because they both don't reduce or don't divide evenly. So I get 4x plus 3, and then 2x minus 5. Split it up into 2 separate equations. I get 4x plus 3 is equal to 0, and 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. Subtract the 3 to the other side, get 4x is equal to negative 3. Divide both sides by 4, so I get x is equal to negative 3/4. Or I could write negative 0.75. Other one, add the 5 to the other side. Get 2x is equal to 5. Divide both sides by 2. So 5 divided by 2 gets me 2.5. And there it is.